Sociology is the study of society, social life, social change, and the social causes and consequences of human behavior. It examines the structure of groups, organizations, and societies and how people interact within these contexts.
Now listen to part of a talk in a sociology class. Now, caste systems are closed stratification systems in which people can do little or nothing to change their social standing. People are born into their social standing and will remain in it their whole lives. Individuals are assigned occupations regardless of their talents, interests, or potential. There are virtually no opportunities to improve one's social position. In the Hindu caste tradition, people were expected to work in the occupation of their caste and to enter into marriage according to their caste. Accepting this social standing was considered a moral duty. Cultural values reinforced the system. Caste systems promote beliefs in fate, destiny, and the will of a higher power, rather than promoting individual freedom as a value. A person who lived in a caste society was raised to accept his or her social standing. Now, although the caste system in India has been officially dismantled, its residual presence in Indian society is deeply embedded. In rural areas, aspects of the tradition are more likely to remain, while urban centers show less evidence of this past. In India's larger cities, people now have more opportunities to choose their own career paths and marriage partners. As a global center of employment, corporations have introduced merit-based hiring and employment to the nation. Question: which is considered part of the Hindu caste tradition? What is the professor's attitude towards the caste tradition? Now listen to part of a talk in a sociology class. Americans typically equate marriages with monogamy, when someone is married to only one person at a time. In many countries and cultures around the world, however, having one spouse is not the only form of marriage. In a majority of cultures, 78% actually, polygamy, or being married to more than one person at a time, is accepted, with most polygamous societies existing in Northern Africa and East Asia. Now, instances of polygamy are almost exclusively in the form of polygyny. Polygyny refers to a man being married to more than one woman at the same time. The reverse, when a woman is married to more than one man at the same time, is called polyandry. It is far less common and only occurs in about 1% of the world's cultures. The reasons for the overwhelming prevalence of polygamous societies are varied, but they often include issues of population growth, religious ideologies, and social status. Question: why does the professor say this? Americans typically equate marriages with monogamy, when someone is married to only one person at a time. Why does the professor discuss the difference between polygyny and polyandry? Now listen to part of a talk in a sociology class. Ageism is discrimination based on age. Ageist attitudes and biases based on stereotypes reduce elderly people to inferior or limited positions. When ageism is reflected in the workplace, in healthcare, and in assisted living facilities, the effects of discrimination can be more severe. Ageism can make older people fear losing a job, feel dismissed by a doctor, or feel a lack of power and control in their daily living situations. Now, in early societies, the elderly were respected and revered. Many pre-industrial societies observed gerontocracy, a type of social structure wherein the power is held by a society's oldest members. In some countries today, the elderly still have influence and power, and their vast knowledge is respected. In many modern nations, however, industrialization contributed to the diminished social standing of the elderly. In agrarian societies, a married couple cared for their aging parents. The oldest members of the family contributed to the household by doing chores, cooking, and helping with childcare. As economics shifted from agrarian to industrial, younger generations moved to cities to work in factories. The elderly began to be seen as an expensive burden. They did not have the strength and stamina to work outside the home. What began during industrialization, a trend toward older people living apart from their grown children, has become commonplace. Question: what is the lecture mainly about? What was the role of elderly in agrarian societies? Now listen to part of a talk in a sociology class. Throughout history and in societies across the world, leaders have used religious narratives, symbols, and traditions in an attempt to give more meaning to life and understand the universe. Some form of religion is found in every known culture, and it is usually practiced in a public way by a group. Now, while some people think of religion as something individual because religious beliefs can be highly personal, religion is also a social institution. Social scientists recognize that religion exists as an organized and integrated set of beliefs, behaviors, and norms centered on basic social needs and values. Moreover, religion is a cultural universal found in all social groups. For instance, in every culture, funeral rites are practiced in some way, although these customs vary between cultures and within religious affiliations. Despite differences, there are common elements in a ceremony marking a person's death, such as announcement of the death, care of the deceased, and ceremony or ritual. These universals and the differences in how societies and individuals experience religion provide rich material for sociological study. Question: what is the lecture mainly about? Why does the professor discuss funeral rites? Now listen to part of a talk in a sociology class. So, as already mentioned, education is not solely concerned with the basic academic concepts that a student learns in the classroom. Societies also educate their children outside of the school system in matters of everyday practical living. These two types of learning are referred to as formal education and informal education. Now, formal education describes the learning of academic facts and concepts through a formal curriculum. Arising from the tutelage of ancient Greek thinkers, centuries of scholars have examined topics through formalized methods of learning. Education in earlier times was only available to the higher classes. They had the means for access to scholarly materials, plus the luxury of leisure time that could be used for learning. The Industrial Revolution and its accompanying social changes made education more accessible to the general population. Many families in the emerging middle class found new opportunities for schooling. The modern U.S. educational system is the result of this progression. Today, basic education is considered a right and responsibility for all citizens. Expectations of this system focus on formal education, with curricula and testing designed to ensure that students learn the facts and concepts that society believes are basic knowledge. In contrast, informal education describes learning about cultural values, norms, and expected behaviors by participating in a society. This type of learning occurs both through the formal education system and at home. Our earliest learning experiences generally happen via parents, relatives, and others in our community. Through informal education, we learn how to dress for different occasions, how to perform regular life routines like shopping for and preparing food, and how to keep our bodies clean. Question: what is the professor's opinion of informal education? What is implied about informal education from the lecture?